Hello guys, welcome back to AdventuresOfWellUmMe, and today I'm going to be talking about For Honor for Game at Day. This is an interesting game. I enjoyed playing it, but I suck at any form of online multiplayer game. Absolutely just suck at any form of online multiplayer game. That's kind of the main focus of this game. So as much as I loved the story and I loved the combination of the original English knights and the medieval knights, the Vikings, and then the Japanese samurai and all that, that was amazing. I loved the content. I just sucked at the game. That's really all it is. But it was one of those games that I think was very innovative, and I don't know if it really got a lot of attention. I don't really know what it was reviewed like. I think it was something that helped, it was interesting to people, but I feel like it just didn't get the reviews that would have pushed it for more people to buy it. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Because I remember it was one of the games, the usual thing, it's one of those games that you look at, you're uncertain about, and you don't want to buy it, but you kind of hold off, and then when you get around to buying it, it's ridiculously cheap. This is one of those games that I picked up for $10 on eBay, a couple months after it came out. I'm perfectly fine with that. I played enough to redeem $10 worth of my time. But I do remember looking at the DLC, and I think this is the real reason why this sort of game really doesn't catch on, in my opinion. So you get the game, you're all good to play it, and then a lot of the game comes down to in-game currency, which allow people to buy better things for online competitive play. That's one thing. The second thing that I think kind of makes it hard for me to see an overly successful game is when the game has a season pass every year. And I understand the point of that. They want to keep, people working on the game. They want people to play the game for long periods of time, and they get a lot of revenue from selling that DLC, compared to if they just released it with one season pass that lasts forever. But any game that has that sort of, here's your season pass for 1 year, here's your season pass for the second year, here's your season pass for the third year, I feel you just feel like it's missing things at some point, and they're just holding off from releasing it sometimes. And I kind of get in that a little bit with the same with Smash Bros at the moment. So Super Smash Bros has their Fighter Pass thing, and they've gone into a second year of Fighter Pass. Kind of after I went, cool, I've purchased the Fighter Pass, I now have all the characters. Now there's a second year of characters that I have to buy and essentially pay the price of the game also to get. And that's kind of what happened with this. It was one of those things, you've got the expansions, you've got season passes to get everything, and you end up spending so much more money than you'd ever plan on spending to get the game in its full entirety. And that sucks. I hate when games do that, because I don't want to spend, in some cases, $200, $300 in a game. Unless I'm a massive fan of it and I'm buying a collector's edition sort of thing. Like my Ni no Kuni stuff that I've got, the record and the statue and all that, which is just out of shot up the top here. That stuff I spend money on because I love the company, I love the game that they've created, and I really want to get in and get the collector's stuff because it has some sort of value to me. But when you're missing out on gameplay to something, and they're charging you, like I'm just looking at an expansion here. So $44.95 for an expansion for the game. Plus, you've got a year 3 pass, there's obviously a year 2 pass, there's so many. If I'm looking at other add-ons for Honor, I'm looking at, there's one for $37.95, there's one for $15, $11.95, $44.95, $44.95 again. You've got the digital deluxe upgrade to $14.95. You got all these little extra purchases. Like, it just adds up. It's so much money. You have to be, like, I guess, completely obsessed with the gameplay. But it makes things unbalanced as well when people are able to get all these coins and stuff, I feel. And I lose the enjoyment in that. Like, I'm not a huge fan of any form of multiplayer game where you can buy something that puts you at a disadvantage, or it puts other people at a disadvantage. I feel like it should all be earned through achievements in game, and that they should never have to pay for these, like, other things. And I get that that's how companies make money these days. It's all about the DLC sales. I get that that's how they can make a huge part of their revenue. That's not how a lot of the people in gaming look at it. And we've all had plenty of discussions on, you know, what is the best way to go about getting involved in a game, you know, buying the full thing, maybe spending a little bit more to get a complete game as opposed to buying a game and having to get DLC, things like that. It's just one of those things that it does irritate me. It does irritate me that I'm not necessarily going to get everything in a game and I have to cough up a lot more money. And that even irritates me about things like Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy and I buy everything Final Fantasy. But I had to buy 2 season pass type things for Final Fantasy 15 to get everything, and then they decided to cancel it, or end production on one of them, and you didn't get the full thing anyway. Like that frustrated me so much, and I'm a massive fan of that, and I'm happy to spend that money on the Final Fantasy DLC packs. But it still infuriates me that that's how it works. Sure, I want a little bit of extra content, but by the time they actually came around with it, you know, putting out the last DLC pack, I wasn't playing Final Fantasy 15 anymore. I kept that installed on my console, on my PlayStation 4, for a couple of years. I deleted it off eventually to make some space, but it was one of those games I just left on the console. I never took it off. And it still infuriates me that they, you know, took so long to release all the DLC because it's trying to, like, space out the game. There's a couple of rants in there about different things in DLC, but essentially, For Honor, I was disappointed with this game. I didn't even really talk about the game itself. Like, okay, gameplay. The game uses this interesting sort of combat system where you move the... You're able to, like, target certain areas when you're attacking. To make it, I guess, a little bit more realistic for how combat would be rather than just mashing a button. And I think that's interesting. Definitely think that it's one of those things in a game that changes it up a lot compared to just, like, you know, a first-person shooter where you're just shooting a lot, or a any form of other multiplayer game. I thought this actually had decent combat where you're actually thinking strategically before you do anything. But yeah, I don't know, I rambled on for 9 minutes. I've got nothing more to say than really I was just disappointed with the payment structure of that and the way that they had all the DLC and how it all unlocks. But I do really like the theme and I do enjoy the combat, but I suck at multiplayer games, so I never really got anywhere with it. Anyway, that's a ramble and a half. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. I don't expect a lot of you to because I kind of rambled on tangents for the whole time, but yeah. Have a great day, and I'll catch you next time.